Welcome to You're Not Alone. The podcast brings you real stories of strength, hope, and resilience. Our guests are real people, just like you, who have faced losses, anxieties, and life obstacles, but emerged stronger. Today's guest is Angelo Blakey. Grew up in one of the North Philadelphia's toughest neighborhoods and defied the odds to become the first male in his family to earn a college degree. In this episode, we'll dive into his journey, overcoming burnout, navigating career shifts, and finding purpose with the support of his wife and family. We'll talk about gratitude, resilience, and why seeking help is a strength, not a weakness. Angelo's story is proof that no matter where you start, it's never too late to dream big and keep pushing forward. Let's dive in. My name is Vita. I'm a mindset mentor, Reiki master, and a sound healer. I'm a CEO and founder of Self-Awesomeness and the host of this podcast. And today's guest is Angelo Blakey, a true example of resilience and determination. Despite facing numerous life challenges, Angelo kept pushing forward, tackling each struggle with unwavering strength. Not only he did pursue his dreams and rise through the ranks in his career, but he also became a first male in his family to earn a college degree. Angelo's story is one of courage, ambition, and breaking barriers, and it's sure to inspire you to keep reaching for your own dreams. Thank you, Angela, for being on today's podcast. I'm very excited to have you. Can you please share your life journey and the ways you overcame all your obstacles that life threw at you?
So I'm from Philadelphia, North Philadelphia to be in particular. And for the people that's not from Philadelphia or not familiar with Philadelphia, it is a very, very rough area. Some would describe it as like a ghetto, right? And I came from like one of the worst parts. North Philadelphia is known as one of the worst parts of Philadelphia. So, I went to Strawberry Mansion, one of the roughest high schools in the country. You can look it up for yourself and you'll see that. But despite that, I want to say that I was raised by a village, right? And they say it takes a village to raise a child, right? So, my mom, she was single. My mom was a great provider. Like, I never had to worry about where my clothes were coming from, where my next meal was coming from, none of that, right? My mom was a great provider. And then my great-grandmother, her name is Grandma Lucy, God rest her soul, she loved me, right? She was the compassionate one, right? And she loved me and made me feel important, made me feel special, right? Any issues, any problems I face, I could always go to her. She will offer sound advice, right? And then, I had my uncles. My uncles were like father figures when my father wasn't there early. My father showed up when I was a teenager. He changed my life. He showed me what it was to really be a man. And, I had neighbors and friends. And I mean, just so many people. I really got to give credit to everyone, because sometimes you could be a product of your environment, right? And there were times that, I would try to get into trouble just being in Philadelphia, right? And like a lot of my friends and a lot of people that were doing bad things would be like, hey, no, you're different. Stay out of this, right? So all of those things kind of kept me out of trouble despite being, around those obstacles. So yeah, that's my life story. As far as like me being born and raised by a village, but the most credit I have to say definitely goes to my mother, my father, and Grandma Lucy.
Yeah, I remember your stories about your grandmother. Yeah, you told us a lot about her. Yeah, that she was the one who always kept you away from troubles. And I think you were in troubles once and she pulled you out and she made you to stay in school, right?
Yeah.
Do I recall it correctly? Yes.
Yeah, because and what I loved about my great grandma Lucy is that, because she's my great grandma, but I pretty much call her my grandma, right? She's my grandma. What I loved about her was that she was so empathetic because she was young once, right? So she could relate to like stuff that I was going through because she was young at once. And I was always like, really looking back, I was so impressed with her that despite being, older, she was like in her 70s, she could relate to me and she knew how to communicate with me. Like, I'm forever grateful to her for her.
And you
that.
trusted her, right? So as a young boy, I mean, as a young man, you trusted her.
And then when she died, which it was my senior year in college, it was tough. It took me probably like a good year and a half to get over her death because she was that important to me. Yeah.
So who helped you to get to college? Tell us the story, how you ended up going to college and not only getting your bachelor degree, but getting your master's, and now you're pursuing your PhD. So we need to hear this story too.
First, I'm gonna give credit to God, and you'll see why in a moment. When I was going to high school, once again, I'm going to a very rough high school, right? Mm-hmm. Not many people are thinking about college, right? Mm-hmm. I was not thinking about college, but I did have an advisor, right? Who kind of brought it up. And he was like, Angelo, you're like top 6, top 7 in this whole school, like in the class as far as like 12th grader. He was like, I think you should go to college. Have you looked at it? I was like, no, but okay. Right. So it was really like, I'm like, okay. Yeah, sure. Right. So he was like, look into these schools. He gave me like a list of 20 schools. And he was like, get a feel for like the story of the school, right? Do like a virtual visit on the campus, research. So I researched. I really was impressed by 3 schools when I researched them. It was University of Miami. It was University of Michigan and Penn State, right? Mm-hmm. However, I didn't get into University of Michigan or University of Miami because my SAT scores wasn't up to par. And as a matter of fact, if you do research, you'll see that a lot of like kids and people from the area I come in, SAT scores are low. It's because our schools are just not that good, right? So, but Penn State accepted me. I'm not sure if it was affirmative action. I'm not sure what it was, but I always say I got lucky getting into Penn State because my grades was there. But like I said, my SAT scores wasn't up to par. And I got in and I got accepted to like 5 other schools, but I was really like honed in on Penn State. I visited the campus and I like fell in love with the campus and I fell in love with the atmosphere. And I'm like, this is my school. Mm-hmm. And that's how I ended up going to Penn State.
So what college degree did you get there? What's your major?
So my degree was hospitality management because it was always my dream since I was probably about 16, 17. And it's still my dream to the day. I want to own a hotel someday. So I was
that's great.
So I'm like, if I want to own a hotel, I better get some hotel experience, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what led me to pursue that degree. And then I started out in hotels. I worked in operations for about 4 years, and then I got burned out. And I'll tell you more stories about that later. But I got burned out, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this no more. Too many weekends, too many holidays. Every big event that's happening, I'm missing it, right? And I'm like,
yes,
customer service is tough. So that's what led me to go back to school to get my master's because I was applying for other jobs to pursue another career, but I couldn't get it because I didn't have enough experience. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I better go back to school. And my wife, she was already back in school, so she kind of inspired me as well. So I was like, okay, let me get my master's because I need a career change. So I need a career change. That. I'm burned out. And I need a career change. So I applied to several schools. I got accepted to 4, but I honed in on the University of Maryland because they had what you call satellite campuses, and one was very close to my job, and they were ranked very high. Their business school was always ranked like top 30 in the country, right? Mm-hmm. So I did my MBA there. And then the nice thing about University of Maryland is that they let you choose a concentration on top of the master's. So it took me about a year, but I was like, okay, back to owning a hotel, right? I'm like, okay, if I'm going to own a hotel, okay, I have this hotel experience. I need to add a skill. What skill do I think would be most beneficial? okay, I need to learn how to work with numbers, learn how to interpret numbers, learn how to interpret a balance sheet, learn how to interpret all those
Mm-hmm.
things, right? So that's what made me choose a concentration in finance. And then
Mm-hmm.
from there, once I graduated, I still couldn't get a new career. So I took a leap of faith. With my wife's support, I took a leap of faith. And I was like, okay, I can't get another job. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm already at Hilton. I'm at the Embassy Suites. You know, they're owned by Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to apply for an internship and hope that it turns into a job. So that's what I did. So I applied for a summer internship as an internal audit intern. And it was a 3-month internship. And I did so good, but I was so afraid because I'm like, man, I took this leap of faith. And Victoria, no lie, I mean, I had anxiety. It's like the 3rd month. And on the very last day of my internship, they offered me a job.
Oh my goodness.
They offered me a job.
Yeah, I can imagine how you felt. Just waiting.
And the very last day. And that is how I broke through into finance and accounting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. That's a powerful story. Sometimes you just have to trust, right? Your intuition and just go and hope, right? Take that leap.
I prayed on it, and I felt like God was telling me to leave. And it was a good thing I left because the job I left, that position was eliminated. So I would have been laid off anyway. Oh, wow. Right? So the power of prayer and just following God and following your heart.
Yes. See, very powerful. Yeah, it's very powerful. Yeah. What were the toughest moments during that time?
I would say, and it's about to get real raw and truthful here, but I would say probably about 5 years ago, 5 years ago, you know, me and my wife, we had a real estate business, right? And I was also working at, I'm not going to name the company, but let's say I was just working for a company, okay? And I really hated that job. It was like the culture was bad. Like me and my supervisor didn't get along. It was just really bad. I still say to this day, it was the worst job I've ever had in my life, and it's not even close. So I hated going there. We spend most of our time at work. So if we're not okay or happy at work, then we're in bad shape, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then on
we
top
spend
of
there
that,
8 hours a day. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of that, like I said, me and my wife had this real estate business, right? And during COVID, the market had dropped, right? So now I'm in, and it's on me. I made a lot of decisions. So now, we're in all this debt because the real estate business fell. I'm at the worst job I ever worked at, right? I hate it. I just can't do it. So this is something that you don't even know. And it's hard for me to share, but I'm going to share it because I trust you. But I tried to take my own life. I jumped out of a moving car and I tried to take my own life. By the grace of God, I didn't get hurt, right? So my wife, she took care of me. She took me to the hospital. And then I was in like the mental clinic for a week. And there is when I really had a chance. I had like an Alban experience. I was like, wow, like, when I had a chance to talk to some of the people that was there, I realized that, okay, life could be so much worse, right? Life could be so much worse. And she and my kids, they both supported me through that time. And that's how I was able to kind of see the other side of it. And then COVID really happened. So then I had to take a break and I had to support my kids anyway from a school standpoint because my son was only 5, right? So could just stick him in front of a computer, right? And that's when I really got a chance to see like, okay, I am important. Like I kind of knew it, but I think I forgot temporarily. Like I thought I was kind of nothing. And I'm like, man, like all this is my fault. I'm the one that joined this company. I'm the one that made these decisions on this real estate deal. And I'm like, man, like, I can't catch a break and it's all my fault. But then I realized I started seeing my purpose again. And I was like, okay. So with her support, with God's helping hand, I'm still here. And
thanks, God.
Yeah, I had a chance to see my purpose again.
So what's your purpose?
My purpose in life is number one purpose in life is to praise God, right? That I'm still here. And then it is really to serve others, right? By the grace of God, I've been put, in leadership roles, and I feel like I am a leader. So as a leader, my number one goal is to serve others, right? That's the way I kind of operate.
Yes.
I'm not perfect, but I try to serve others. And then really just create like financial freedom and financial stability for my family and for generations to come.
So who supported you? You said your wife supported you.
Yeah, she's been she's been my biggest support easily, especially since my grandmother passed. She has easily been like my biggest support, my biggest cheerleader, right? My biggest listening ear, my biggest shoulder, all those things.
So, and she helped you to go through that tough time, basically.
Yeah, and really, without much judgment, a lot of concern, but not much judgment.
Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, not every couple can say that. Yeah, how long have you guys been married for?
2008. So yeah, 16 years, and we've been together for 20. I actually met her my second day of college. my second day of college is when I met her.
Oh wow, guys!
Yeah,
that's a story, right? So that's why you ended up being in Penn State, right? So Penn University,
college sweetheart.
Yeah. Oh, this is beautiful, college sweetheart. I love it. Angelo, what do you think helped you to overcome that fear and feeling of being not worthy? And what helped you? Do you remember that first step that you took to keep moving forward?
I think like during that time, and they say this is the worst time you can be in, I stopped praying. Like I kind of lost hope, lost faith. I stopped praying to God. And then like the very first step, I didn't take it. She took it for me, right? My wife took it for me is when she got me into the hospital. And then, like I said, once I started communicating with people, I realized like, okay, life wasn't all that bad, right? I'm like, okay, life could be so much worse. It could be so much worse. And then I would just say like, sorry to sound redundant here, but I think when COVID happened and I saw how much like my family really needed me, even though I wasn't working, right? The support I was providing, it was almost like I was an elementary school teacher, right?
Oh, I mean, you probably have a lot of patience, seriously. I couldn't do it. Especially with 5 years old.
When I saw how much my family needed me, it was like kind of a wake-up call, because I was like, I was blaming myself for the position that I had put us in, right? But I got a chance to really sit back and see like, wow, like I'm really necessary. I'm really important. My family really needs me. Even though I made this big time mistake, right? They still need me.
Yes.
So that was really like the first step. And then it was just getting back close with God again, getting back into my Bible, getting back into praying. And then that's what set me on the right path.
Basically regaining faith, or start believing and trusting again. But how did your life change after that? So it's been like 5 years, 4 or 5 years, right? Things
started getting better. I guess it was God ordained. So then I went from the worst job of my life to the best job of my life, right? So so I ended up going to Claus as a county manager. And when I say you Claus, I mean, the culture is so amazing there. Like, it is so amazing there. Like, it's like the family feel, everyone supports each other, right? Yeah. Everyone has each other's back, right? Training is amazing, right? All those things. And then, it's just such a collaborative culture. And I just wasn't used to that. Right. And then when I joined that, it made me want to work harder. Kind of like when I was with you. Right. Like it made me like, OK, now at this point, I have so much trust and so much faith and so much belief in this person or these people. Now I don't want to let them down, right? So now I'm working, but it's not just working because I have to. These are some of the things that I want to do. I want to work hard for this company, you know?
This is amazing.
Yeah. I want to work hard for this company. Now I'm willing to go above and beyond, right? And then I leave Clyde's and I joined the company I'm with now, the New Washington Land Company. And it was even better culture than Clyde. So now I have the second best job of my life, right? The culture is even better, even more collaborative, even more family feeling, even more like of that great, we have each other back culture.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So now I'm doing the same thing again, right? So since leaving the worst job of my life, I've encountered the two best jobs of my life.
Yeah, so it's your benefit is doubled now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's so I think difficult for us people to we feel miserable, but it's so hard for us to leave a job that we hate, that we don't like, because I think most of the time we think that any other job would be the same thing. So especially for accountants, right? We do have the same deadlines, we have the same sort of structure, and we think that everywhere will be the same as it was at the miserable job, right? But I was sharing my experience that I got the best job too after the worst job, and you sharing your experience now that after the worst job ever you've had, now you had the second best job ever that you had. This is amazing. Yeah, I think this is very encouraging and motivational, I would say, like motivating for people to keep looking for a better job. If you guys want to switch your job and you hate your job, because it really drains so much of your energy if you hate what you do.
And I think that the funny thing about me is that, like, in my family, I'm known as the person that doesn't stay at a job because I don't mind leaving. Like, if the culture is bad, I will leave. But in that particular case, with the real estate situation, with the debt, I feel like I needed that job. That was like really the first time I felt like I needed it. And I'm like, I can't leave because I have this debt. And then I end up also leaving anyway. Because I'm like, I can't take it anymore. I'm like, I cannot take it anymore. I can't do it no more. I'm done. Like,
yes. Yeah. And it's actually a very miserable feeling. I mean, I went through that feeling too. It was miserable. You just hate waking up in the morning and go and do things that you love to do, right? So because it's not about what you do, it's about where you work at. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I was still there, I don't think there's any way I would have been able to pursue my PhD because the hours were just crazy too. So yeah.
But even now you're doing your PhD and you want to work for your company and do above and beyond just because you want it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because you have that culture. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us, how did you end up making a decision to pursue your PhD?
Gosh, I keep bringing God into this, but this is another God ordained thing. Now,
I've
always wanted to get my PhD. Like, I've always wanted to get it, but I just didn't know when the timing was right. So about 3 years ago, I started getting kind of curious, right? I'm like, I don't want to pursue my PhD, but I'm like, I wonder if I applied, would I get in? So it was just kind of more like a curious thing. I'm like, how hard is it to get in? Right? So I found two schools and I was kind of just like testing the waters, right? I filled out the application. I filled out I did the writing sample from my experience. I provided my work experience. I gave them my academic and my work resume. And I kind of just took it from there. And then I had to do 2 interviews, right? And I got into both. And I was like, oh, my goodness. Right. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm really just testing the waters here, right? Just out of curiosity. You mean to tell me now I got in? I'm like, oh boy. So
this is amazing. It's getting more and more interesting.
Yeah, so I had to talk with my wife, and after like several days of talking, she was like, just go for it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's how I ended up getting into Marymount University, pursuing my PhD. And yeah, I mean, I've really enjoyed every moment of it. I've really enjoyed it. I I've enjoyed it, especially my dissertation topic, because it hits close to home. And I told you I would bring this back up, but my dissertation topic, it comes from personal experience. Remember I told you how I felt burned out in the hospitality industry?
Yes.
So part of that was I had a GM who was very transactional, right? And I kept hearing about this term, transformational leadership. So I started doing research on it, and I was like, I've had a couple of those in my career, right? You being one of them. So
thank you.
Yeah, so I was like, okay. So I was like, I think transformational leadership limits burnout, right? Because you have to come up with a hypothesis. So ultimately, I settled on a hypothesis that I feel like transformational leadership limits burnout, but also increases employee satisfaction and employee customer orientation in the hotel industry. So I end up selling on that. And that's my topic.
Oh, wow. That's so how's it going for you?
It's going well. I have 3 chapters finished. I've actually, as you saw, I've distributed my survey. I just reached the goal. My chair wanted me to have 300, so I have 309. So I started kind of researching the data. And I actually did a lot of the analyzing of the data today. I have to wait for my chair to like give his approval. So this is more like preliminary, but preliminary, what I found is that actually transformational leadership does not limit burnout, but but it does increase employee satisfaction and employee customer orientation. So I think in the hotel and the hospitality industry, what I'm getting from those results is that burnout kind of comes with the territory, just because it's so demanding. But if you have a transformational leader, you will be happy even though you are burned out, and you will try harder to serve your customer. But that's preliminary. I have to get my chair's approval.
Oh, yes, we're waiting.
Yeah.
We'll be waiting for your results and your research. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yes. So looking back, what do you feel you've learned from your whole experience, from basically you were born and raised in North Philadelphia. So I think we'll go all in Google what North Philadelphia is. You had support, your mom and your grandma, I would call her grandma, supported you, right? But you also went through a lot of difficult and challenging times being an adult as well. So looking back, what do you feel you've learned from all of those experiences and obstacles you've had?
I would think the number one thing I probably learned is that, always keep faith, never lose hope, right? Because sometimes in our life, all we have is hope, right? And if you lose that, then you don't really have too much. So I've learned to, no matter what, never lose hope. Never lose hope. And just always remember that, it might rain at night, but, there's sunlight in the morning, right? Bad days don't last always, right? Keep God first all the time, right? Through good times and bad, especially bad. But just, never lose hope. And then also dream big. Dream big. I mean, when I tell people, like, especially when I was younger, when I was like 18 and I would tell people my dreams, they'd be like, man, you crazy, right? I mean, well, but dream big, because, if you dream big, you can accomplish big things. And even if you don't accomplish those big things, your generations behind you are watching, right? My kids are watching. So, they know that I'm not afraid to dream big.
Yes. Yeah. You give them a really good example. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it. So for people who are looking to have that, continue to believe and have that faith during difficult times, what would you suggest them to do? What would maybe you have done differently if you knew, so you don't lose hope and faith?
That's a really good question. I would have never stopped praying. I mean, at that point, I lost hope and I stopped praying. I just gave up, right? I gave up, right? And that's the last thing you want to do, because sometimes God is the only good thing that you have, right? Also, don't be afraid to seek professional help, right? I have a psychologist, so, don't be afraid to seek professional help. And
Mm-hmm.
and I will also say this, and this is something I actually learned from my psychologist. Establish your support system early if you can, because bad times will come. Things could be great right now, right? But bad times will come. So establish your support system early of those that you could truly trust, right? And those that you could communicate with, and those that you know that won't judge
Mm-hmm.
you but will be there for you and help you outlast those difficult times.
Well, that's pretty amazing. This is what we're doing here, right? We're showing people they're not alone in
Mm-hmm.
their journeys and challenging times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how do you stay strong and motivated?
It's funny. I've always been kind of I've always been kind of a self motivated person, and I
Mm-hmm.
honestly I think it's just like the dream, like macro. I have
Mm-hmm.
this big dream and it's huge, right? I want to own a hotel, right? So how do I get there, right? Well, I'm gonna need some money. I'm gonna need some capital to do it, right? So
Yes.
how can I make capital? There's several ways I can make capital. My way is okay. I'm gonna keep getting educated. Learning is an everyday experience, and I'm gonna keep learning, and I'm gonna keep rising up the ranks, right? And hopefully someday I'll be a CFO. I'll be a C-suite executive, right? And with that, I could start investing money, right? Maybe own some real estate,
Mm-hmm.
get back into that, and really just start building wealth, right? To the point where I'm so wealthy that I can make that dream come true. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really just like the macro dream of that, and then also like providing financial stability for my children and generations after.
So, from your experience, we all can see that having faith and believe in God, believing that He's watching us, helping us, supporting us, having kind of community behind you, and building your community in good times will support you
Yeah.
in difficult times. So you can trust those people. And also, what you said, that probably don't blame yourself, right, for what has happened. Just it is what it is,
It is what it is.
right?
One thing my dad
Right.
always said, one thing my dad always say, right? I love this saying. My dad always says this. He says, when you make a mistake, he said, hit yourself with a feather and not a rock. You know what I mean? Like, take a little bit of the blame, but don't make it hurt so bad. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, because we
Yes.
all make mistakes.
Yes. So, and it's pretty amazing that you got to the university, you got your bachelor degree, master's degree, and now you're pursuing your PhD, you're doing the research. And I love your idea of dreaming big, right? So even though it may not happen in this lifetime, but like you are taking those big leap steps to achieve the dream and show your kids that this is what you guys can do. You kind of set an example. And I like what you said, that don't be afraid to seek professional help if you feel
Mm-hmm.
like you need a professional help. This is amazing. Yes, the guys, don't be afraid to seek professional help and have that faith. So I love your statement about always having faith that if it's an even darker time, there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you to share your final encouragement messages, your legacy messages for the listeners.
For me, keep God first. No matter what religion, no matter what God you serve, keep God first. Keep Him close. Keep Him around, because there's going to be a time where you're going to need Him, and then He's going to ordain steps to bless you, right? If you keep Him first.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Second, I would say is, never lose hope, never lose faith. No matter what mistakes or what obstacles you face or what mistakes you've made, never lose hope or faith. Ask for forgiveness and move on, right? And that's easier said than
Mm-hmm.
done. And
Yes.
and and number three is to dream big. Don't let anybody tell you what not to dream,
Mm-hmm.
because no matter how big your dream is, it is yours, and it will keep you encouraged and it will keep you motivated. So that is like my ultimate advice.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela. You can find more information and connect with Angelo by following the links below this episode. I want to thank you one more time for being on today's podcast, for sharing your personal experience, your story, and